I speak to dozens of people every month, whether that be on social media or in everyday life, who want to start an Airbnb business. But if you were to actually ask me how many of these people become successful in getting their first unit, the number's probably even less than 10%. And this is not because people don't have the time, don't have the money, or don't know how to find properties. The answer is normally a lot simpler and fixable than you might think. Hey, it's Elliot. If you don't know who I am, or if you're new to the channel, I own an Airbnb business in the UK that's been running for the last 5 years. We currently generate anywhere from £65,000 to £75,000 per month, and I probably only work a couple of hours each day. But what people don't see is that it wasn't always like this. And to tell the truth, I almost never actually got started. So in today's video, I wanted to break down the key reasons why most people stay stuck and don't actually get their first unit. And more importantly, how you can ensure that you're in that 10% of people who actually do get results. So the first thing that prevents a lot of people from getting their first unit is the fact that they do over research, and then they get stuck in what I call analysis paralysis. This is where you're consuming a lot of information, you're doing a lot of research, watching videos, but you're not actually taking any action. And the reason why this is so detrimental is because you feel like you're being productive, you feel like you're learning, yet you're not actually taking any action that's going to move the needle to where you need to actually go. On top of that, a lot of the information you may be consuming will eventually become conflicting. After a certain point, people are going to be telling you different strategies, giving you different pieces of advice, and you won't know what to follow. And on top of that, a lot of the stuff you may be watching may not actually be relevant to where you're at. For example, I remember one time I had a conversation with someone who said he was looking to get involved in Airbnb. He's done extensive research and was telling me about different strategies such as adding in full stops and commas at different places within your description to ensure that the algorithm on Airbnb pushes your listing to the highest point on the search results. And I was just sitting there thinking to myself, like, that's not true. But B, what relevance has that got to where you're at right now? You think you're being smart and you're looking at these strategies, but ultimately, that's not going to help you or give you any experience when you're talking to a landlord or trying to pitch an estate agent. So at some point, learning and consuming more information just becomes another way of avoiding actually committing to doing the work. And this leads me on to the second point in what stops people from getting their first unit, is the fact that they change strategies too quickly. They may try one for a little bit, it doesn't work, they blame the strategy, and then they move on to the next. I've seen some people jump from deal sourcing to co-hosting to rent to Airbnb management without actually getting anywhere. And I think a lot of this comes down to people following what looks like the easiest route. Maybe they've seen one person talk about their particular experience, it's worked well for them, and they want to jump ship and copy what they're doing. But at the end of the day, your journey and your experience will always be different to anyone else's. Even when I look at my mentees, I've had some people that I've worked with, they've called a couple of agents and straight away they've given them the green light, they've booked an interview and they've even taken on the property. For other people, they've made a few phone calls and they've got rejected and they've started to get a little bit more discouraged. So they're both working on exactly the same strategy, but two very different experiences. So you can't base your journey of someone else's experience and just jump ship just because it maybe didn't work out the same way it did for someone else. Once you understand the strategy and you know that it works, you need to stick at it and stick at it long enough to actually try and get some results. And that leads on to the third point in terms of why people don't get results, is that they don't have the perseverance. The amount of people that I speak to who want to get started, initially they have a lot of motivation, they try calls for a week, don't get any quick results or quick wins, and then they just give up. Like, if you thought you were going to get something that quickly and that instantaneously, then you've got no hope in business if you can't stick at something for an extended period of time. I can tell you for free, the first hurdle is always the hardest one, but once you get past that first hurdle, it enables you to build up some momentum. And I'm sure we've all seen that meme or the image online of the person who's digging for gold in the tunnel and then he literally gives up just before he gets to the gold. And it's the same thing with this business model as well. You don't know if that next conversation you're about to have could be your breakthrough. I've seen a lot of people get shiny penny syndrome. They want to try a bit of Airbnb, maybe it doesn't work after a week and they give up and then they jump onto the next thing, whether it's trading, drop shipping, whatever it is. But if you don't have the perseverance to stick at it while results aren't going your way, then you've got no hope in any kind of business or entrepreneurship. Now, the fourth thing is waiting for the perfect time or the perfect conditions. I'm talking about when people say, I'm waiting to be more confident, I'm waiting to be more certain, I'm waiting for a particular time in the market, I'm waiting for the perfect property. I can tell you for free that the perfect conditions never come. There's never going to be that perfect time. And in fact, when I look at my own business, a lot of the best deals that I've taken on have always come at slightly awkward moments when I didn't really feel fully prepared to do so. And even after I got my first 1 or 2 properties, I still didn't feel fully confident that I knew what I was doing. But you learn as you go, you pick things up, you learn from your mistakes. It is so much better to make an imperfect move now than sit around on your hands to wait for the perfect time to make the perfect decision. Because you're never gonna make a perfect decision and you're never gonna feel fully confident. But the confidence doesn't come before taking action, it comes after taking action and then doing repeated repetition. And honestly, you'll be so surprised about what you can actually achieve when you're under a little bit of pressure. So if the time doesn't feel right now, maybe because you're a little bit busy or you've got other things going on, if you were to have a deal right now, I'm telling you, you will make it work. You will somehow find the hours in the day, you will solve that problem that you may be facing. So you need to try and put yourself in uncomfortable positions. You can't just grow a business always being super confident and feeling comfortable. You need to put yourself under a little bit of stress sometimes because that's where you stretch yourself and that's how you grow. And too many people are scared to, which brings me on to the fifth point, which is fear. Whether that's fear of failure, fear of people judging them if it doesn't quite work out, fear of losing money, fear of losing time, like these are completely valid and they're very normal. Everyone goes through them, including myself. When I first took on my first Airbnb, I was super scared that I wasn't gonna get in any bookings. I actually delayed taking on my first Airbnb deal because I just didn't feel confident enough that it was gonna work, and I had all these negative feelings in my head that was kind of putting me off. But what you need to understand is that fears are normal. Everyone goes through them. Even the most successful Airbnb operators do as well. But although you feel the fear, you have to push through anyway. There's always going to be the risk that things may not work out or you don't get the results that you want to, but that's the risk we take to get to where we want to be. So if you've got too much fear that's putting you off from actually getting the results or taking the action and doing what you need to do, then you're basically your worst enemy. And that's the truth, because at the end of the day, a lot of people are looking to reduce risk, but you can never fully get rid of any risk. You need to just take the risk and embrace it. If you fully commit to something, you put 3 to 6 months and work hard, you can get the results. And if you're not willing to be able to do that, you need to seriously question whether or not business is going to be for you. So how do you become part of the 10% of people who actually get results, who succeed and don't just stay stuck? I think the first thing is to set a deadline, not a someday. Set a specific date on your calendar to say when you want to achieve your result. So for example, you could say by the 1st of August of this year, I want to have my first Airbnb listing live and ready to receive bookings. That's gonna make sure that every single day you've got something to work towards, and it's gonna keep you motivated as you keep getting closer to that date. Now the second thing is a little bit controversial, but I'd say commit to it publicly. Announce to the public what your goal is or what you're working towards. This is gonna really help with your accountability. It's gonna make you work 5 to 10 times harder to ensure that you actually hit your goals, because the biggest embarrassment or the biggest shame is gonna come from you telling people you're gonna do something and then not actually following through on it. Even if it's something small, like commenting on this video to say, look, I'm gonna get my first deal this year in 2026. This just helps for added accountability, and again, helps you keep moving forward towards your goals. And the third thing is take imperfect action. This keeps you moving and stops you waiting around trying to make everything perfect. Because realistically, you're never gonna have a perfect property, or your first listing's never gonna be perfect, but you can always improve as you go. I can rarely think of any scenario in life when doing nothing is gonna be better than actually just doing something. And the fourth thing is get some help. The fastest path moving forward is always to learn from someone who's already done it. So whether that's joining a mentorship, buying a course, joining a community, going to a few networking events, there's no point in you trying to figure everything out on your own. You can always just get some support and some guidance from someone else. So if you do those 4 things, I can guarantee you'll get results, and you'll be in a much better position than the 90% of people who started and then ultimately gave up. So I hope you found today's video motivating to either start or keep pushing if you have already started, because here's the bottom line. I know so many people with Airbnb properties and successful Airbnb businesses, and none of them regret ever starting. Yet I can guarantee you in a year or 2 years time, there's gonna be a lot of people regretting that they never actually took the action and got their first property. But as always, if you found this video helpful or motivating, please like and subscribe. And if you want help setting up your Airbnb business, there's a link in the description where you can book in a call with myself if you want to check that out. If not, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.